rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to American Perspective as I pull myself out of the wind-strewn rubble that I have been a part of, I and the rest of my neighbors and neighborhood. You know, it's kind of weird. We haven't had a really big storm like this for a little bit. I mean, we've had windstorms and things like that, but what makes these things really impactful here in the Pacific Northwest is that we have these large trees, okay? These large trees, they're fir trees. They're not pine, they're fir, okay? They grow about 60, 80, 100 feet tall sometimes. And of course, because, you know, we have a logging background, we usually let them grow really, really big. Well, the problem is that these trees have root balls. They don't have like a taproot that goes down deep like your deciduous trees would. Many of your deciduous trees do. And so what ends up happening is when it rains really hard, like we had right before this windstorm, when it rains really hard and then it gets winds, even a moderate blow can cause problems. And what ends up happening is the soil gets saturated. It gets so saturated that it becomes very porous and it's soggy, and so these root balls don't hold very well in the wind. When you add that to a tree that's, 60, 80 feet tall that has branches up at the top that act as sails, well, you can just imagine what happens. So over the course of the last couple of days, we had obviously the flooding and the rain, and then we had following beyond that, we had wind, and it took down several trees. That's what happened. And so, unfortunately for my neck of the woods, they don't bother to bury the power grid. They don't bother because, honestly, it costs too much to put them in the ground. And when they go to put them in the ground and it costs too much, especially out in some rural areas that we have around here, and we love our trees, and so we've got all kinds of trees everywhere. And of course, this is the Northwest where we have evergreens, and they're all firs, and they're all so on and so forth. So that's what happened. But I do appreciate everybody's understanding. My property itself actually did okay. It was, properties to the north and to the south. We had a couple of big trees that were on power lines north of us. We had a couple big trees that were power lines south of us. And apparently the major transmission and distribution lines coming into our neck of the woods, bringing us the power, also got hit. So it was just a cacophony of all kinds of things that brought down the show for last night. And I honestly thought that I wasn't going to be transmitting tonight either, but I got to give props to our local public utility district. Man, those guys worked around the clock. They actually even brought in crews from other counties around us because our county got hit worse, I think, than just about everybody else. So props to all of those guys and gals, too. I mean, let's face it, there's probably some women on the crew as well. But they did a really good, fantastic job by getting all of that stuff taken care of so that we could be back to our normal selves. And I got to tell you, when you're living in the modern age, there's times where when you are going without, that you realize what is really the most important to you. For Mrs. Whiskey, it was a hot shower. Because obviously the power goes out. I have an electric water heater, so the power goes out. The electric water heater goes out. We don't have hot water. We had water, because the pumps and everything south of us were all on power. But yeah, we didn't have hot water. So it was, it's those kinds of pleasures that the first world problems, let's say, that everybody kind of takes for granted until they're gone. And, it's pretty amazing when you start to deal with that. But, hey, that is life. And if you're not prepared for things like that, then you can't do certain things. Now, granted, I am not fully prepared to be able to do live streaming all the time, regardless of what happens. But that is a secondary position to everything else that has to go on here. So, yeah. Anyway, so there you go. Now, I have another programming note. And this one you guys are going to, I don't know if you're going to hate it or not, but unfortunately, Mrs. Whiskey and I had plans, or have plans, for tomorrow night. And it's a date night. Mrs. Whiskey and I are going out, and it's been planned for a little while because it's tickets to a hockey game. And so there will be no show tomorrow. I hate to do that to you guys. I really do. But yeah, this is the time of year, we kind of got to, we ended up getting these tickets, and we got these tickets from some friends of ours. They're season ticket holders. They can't use them. And they knew they couldn't use them. And so they offered them to us a while ago. And so there we go. I actually, 3 Chevy points out live remote video. I actually thought about that maybe, if I can convince Mrs. Whiskey to allow me to do it for a short period of time, I might do that. We might just pop a video open or something, and I'm not going to guarantee you guys anything. I can't, but if you happen to see a new video there, that's probably it, and that'll probably be why. Anyway, so there you go. That's what's going on. So tomorrow night, for sure, no show. Unless, of course, we happen to get a video popped up. But anyway, other than that, I think we're good. Obviously, we're coming around to Christmas. Christmas is, next week. And so I will also not be I won't be programming a show for either Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. We'll take those 2 days off and enjoy family and friends and celebrate the birth of our Lord Jesus Christ in the way that we all do, different ways and everything else, with family and friends and those kinds of things. So keep that in mind as well. So that's coming up next week. But until then, basically Friday, I'll be back Saturday. And then next week, Monday and Tuesday off. I think it's Wednesday and Thursday, and then back Friday and Saturday. And for New Year's, also New Year's, I don't know if I'm going to do a New Year's show. I kind of got to see what Mrs. Whiskey has got planned for us, whether or not we're doing anything, and then we'll go from there. So that's what's coming up in the next couple of weeks. So there you go. All right, let's go ahead and get tonight kicked off. Tonight, we have Ms. T of Texas. I saw her in the chat earlier. I haven't seen her in a little. She has been kind of quiet in a little bit. So let's go ahead and get things kicked off. Ms. T of Texas is doing tonight's Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mind, please stand. Remove your hat if you're wearing one, like me. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with Ms. T of Texas as she recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and of course I appreciate that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the pledge in your style, then take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, and attach it to an email. Send it off to me. Send it to fans, F-A-N-S, @AmericanPerspective.com. .online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. And I will get you into the rotation. If you're doing it on your phone, don't forget you can use the share option. Or, in the case of 3 Chevy, use the Sunny option. Yeah, we're dating ourselves. Not by, like, dating, no. Anyway, we're showing how old we are, our age, okay? Anyway, use the share option and share it to fans at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online, and I will get you into the rotation. I am looking for 21. I only have 20. But I'm looking for 21, and if you can get 21 and even 22 and 23 and 24. Oh, okay. Anyway. So there you go. Yeah, head on over or do me a favor and send it in. Send it into fans. All right, headline sponsor. Wow, see, one day and I'm already out of practice. Okay, the Institute on the Constitution. The Institute on the Constitution was established in 2004 as a 501c3 nonprofit with one singular mission, and that is to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education. All courses and materials are developed using primary source documents and taught from the American view of law and government as defined in the Declaration of Independence in the following 3 key points. 1, there is a God. 2, our rights come from him. And 3, the purpose of civil government is to secure and protect our God-given rights. The IOTC offers the opportunity to educate yourself on our most precious founding document, the Constitution of the United States. They also provide tools to educate your community and get involved with local government. Start by taking their free U.S. Constitution course and go from there. Use my affiliate link, iotc.americanperspective.online, to sign up. And while you are there, take a moment to look through their other course material and information. My affiliate link, once again, is iotc.americanperspective.online to get great content to learn about our historical founding and support the show in the process. That's iotc.americanperspective.online. Or if you just want to purchase this fabulous Saddleback leather-bound U.S. Constitution to support the show, go to constitution.americanperspective.online. Take a look at this thing. Got 1/8 of an inch of Saddleback leather wrapped around pages that are water and tear resistant. No cheap glue here, folks. It is stitched all the way through the pages and the leather in the, surrounding it. Stitched all the way through. No cheap glue. It's got a 100-year warranty against materials and manufacturing defects, such that if you have a problem with the way this thing is built or anything within the materials fail or whatever, you can send it back to the manufacturer and they will either fix it or replace it for free within that 100 years. It is buddy tested, buddy approved. Billy tasted, Billy approved. And my youngest whiskey warrior has confirmed that the information contained within will help you to study for and eventually pass your civics badge in scouting. You also could probably pass your civics test and also your naturalization test. We got something coming up about that. Go to constitution.americanperspective.online to get yours today, and also check out the rest of the Institute on the Constitution's offerings, as I thank them for allowing me to be a brand affiliate. That's right. All right. Let's get on with it. So, one thing that I did note, one of the things I got to say, one of the things that you are, when you're, when you kind of have nothing else really to go on, okay? Well, some of the comments are coming in a little late. You guys must be behind. Anyway, Wooden's, of course, a G, I should say. G says, Gorilla Glue looked at the Pocket Constitution and said, no, that stitching is better than we could ever do. That's why they don't use glue. They use stitching. There you go. And then, of course, there's always the sexy rounded corners. All right. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. one thing that's interesting when you really have, let's just say nothing else to do, when you're hunkered down for a storm or whatever, and you really have nothing else to do, sometimes if you still have, the ability, you go and take a look on social media or whatever. And, you kind of take a look around. Well, one of the things that I noticed all day while we were without power, all day was the fact that so many people from the left, and I'm saying leftist, lunatic, idiots, stupid, morons, whatever we want to call them, so many people from the left were saying, and I'm still seeing the memes, by the way. I'm still seeing all kinds of stuff in my feed. But they're all saying, oh, my God, Rob Reiner, he's going to be greater than President Trump. He's, the horrible things that Trump said about Rob Reiner. Rob Reiner this, Rob Reiner that. Well, okay, first of all, let's just be honest, okay? I personally abhorred Rob Reiner's comments on public social media. Now, he spent a lot of time posting on X. He spent a lot of time disparaging Trump and saying all kinds of things that were relatively untrue, for sure. And so even when he did hit a true spot, he still, it was just sick and disgusting, some of the things that he was saying. Now, I'm not necessarily defending Trump either, because let's be honest, Trump was putting out Trump said a few things that I probably wouldn't have said just out of a manner of decorum. But you need to understand, though, there becomes a time when people get pushed to the limit. And you need to understand that Donald Trump has been disparaged. He has been dragged through the mud. He has been attacked every angle, every which way that he possibly could. He's been dragged through the courts on things that literally have nothing to do with him, and he never should have even been in the court for. He's been brought up on charges that have been demonstrably untrue, but because of the court system and the leftist mindset of the leftist lunatics that were on those juries and in the judge's box, they all have ganged up on him. So I can understand and excuse some of the things that Donald Trump said about Rob Reiner. Now, Rob Reiner, let's give the man some credit. He is a brilliant director and filmmaker. At least I think he was a director. But he's been in charge or been involved in some of the most iconic movies that we ever could have, had throughout the years. And as far as, I'm concerned, that is a fantastic achievement. But two things can be true at once. The guy could be absolutely brilliant in filmmaking and a complete utter piece of shit elsewhere. And just because you respect the filmmaking part doesn't mean that you can't call out the POS part. Because let's be honest, 90% of Hollywood, and I'm giving that, I'm giving it 10%, I actually think it's even less than that, is nothing but a bunch of haughty, stupid, leftist lunatics who think that their importance level is so much higher than everybody else's. And I get frustrated over the fact that all, if not all of these accounts that are complaining about the fact that Rob Reiner, who literally was a piece of crap in private life, were also treating the death of Charlie Kirk in the pretty much the exact same way that Donald Trump was doing with Rob Reiner. Charlie Kirk was not the racist, was not the misogynist, was not all of the nasty ass names that these leftist morons who literally didn't even know who Charlie Kirk was until he was assassinated, because they didn't bother to investigate outside of their own ecliptic bubble. But the fact of the matter is that, you guys are so hypocritical. And by you guys, I'm talking to the leftist lunatics out there, because you guys are so hypocritical. You cheer and applaud. You cheered and applauded when Donald Trump had an attempted assassination on him where he actually got clipped in the ear. That's a matter of public record. That is a matter of reality. That is a matter of truth. It wasn't faked. 2 people died because of it. 2 innocent civilians died because of it. And Rob Reiner spent, just like Rosie O'Donnell, not Roseanne Barr, Rosie O'Donnell, have spent many, many hours disparaging the man and calling Donald Trump all kinds of names and everything else under the sun. Most of them have been, most of their rants have been completely untrue and debunked. And yet you expected that Trump, who is a fighter, he doesn't just roll over and take it. He doesn't just look at people and go, they're just, okay, whatever they say. They're just saying crap. And I know it's crap. He actually strikes back. He hits back. That's who Trump is. And so that's what he did, is he hits back. He hits Rob Reiner back. Now, some would say, it was kind of uncouth for him to do it because, Rob Reiner's dead. And trust me, being murdered by your own child is not a glamorous way to go. And it does completely indicate that Rob Reiner probably should have pulled his head out of his own ass longer and paid more attention to his child, to his offspring, than to Donald Trump. But all of that being said, again, 2 things can be true at once. The man could be, meaning Rob Reiner, could be one of the greatest filmmakers this country has ever seen, and the industry itself has ever seen. And he could also be a totally loathsome piece of shit. Both can be true at the same time. And quite often with Hollywood types, that is exactly how things go. Because on screen, they seem approachable and nice and everything else. How many times have you seen people come out and are like, oh, yeah, she was so great in this one film, and yet I saw her on the street, and oh my God, she's such a bitch. Well, no kidding. Because again, they feel, meaning the Hollywood elites, feel that they are so far and above and away from everything else that they can treat the little people. I mean, just look at the way they talk at their award ceremonies for the most part. The ones that everybody should really be paying attention to are people like, Morgan Freeman, Keanu Reeves, Denzel Washington, Tommy Lee Jones. All of the ones that don't let the Hollywood hype go to their heads. That they actually treat normal people like normal people. Like people just like them. Those are the ones that we should be exalting, not just because of the fact that they happen to be real good at their craft, but they also tend to treat people quite well. They're not the pieces of crap like what you have, even though, again, he was, be more like Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein was a genius, and he knew he was a genius. He knew he was smarter than other people. But he was very, very down to earth at the same thing, at the same time. He didn't flaunt his genius. He didn't flaunt it and be like, oh, well, I am so much more higher than you. You are the little people. No, he didn't bother. Because for him, he knew he was smarter, but he didn't have to flaunt it. He didn't have to flaunt it at all. So, spare me your outrage, you leftist lunatics. Yeah, guess what? Rob Reiner was a great filmmaker. Wonderful. And he was a piece of shit in his private life. So, there you go. Whatever. Believe me, you sit there and say, oh, Rob Reiner is not going to be remembered more than Donald Trump. I doubt it. To be honest with you, I don't even think either one is really going to be remembered outside of their family and friends. That's it. I mean, most of the time, people are so freaking out of touch with reality that they don't even think about anybody after they're dead and gone for, 6 months to a year. And then, maybe you remember them on the first 5 anniversaries, possibly. But then after that, it's sort of, time just sort of like lets them all go. Unlike a couple people on my Whiskey Warrior train, they are immortalized forever as long as I do the Pledge of Allegiance, and as long as the show continues, they will always show up and be remembered. All right. Enough ranting about that guy. God, I can't even imagine I just wasted, 20 minutes on him? Whatever. Anyway, another piece of, I don't know if this is exciting news, sad news, what kind of news this is, I really don't know, but this was another thing that just sort of slipped in while we were out of power. Dan Bongino is leaving the FBI at the end of the year. Dan Bongino is leaving the FBI at the end of the year. Now, I would fully expect that he will be right back at the helm of the Dan Bongino show. Boy, I feel sorry for Vince. Vince Colonnese, who took over his show. I have a feeling that, that's not gonna last long. Anyway, Dan Bongino has decided that he is going to be leaving his position with the FBI in January. Donald Trump actually kind of signaled that Bongino would be leaving. But then the announcement was made official. And there's a hint. I think Dan, I'm going to be honest with you. I think the only reason why Dan became an FBI agent was for 2 reasons. One, he wanted to get to the bottom of the January 6th piece, but even more so, he wanted to get to the bottom of the FBI bombing, or not the FBI bombing, the DNC and RNC bombing. Those were like his 2 big things, and then maybe the Epstein files might have been a close third. But those were his 2 big things, was the RNC, DNC bombing, January 6th, and now that we've got the truth on both of them, he's done his job, he's out, and he wants to go back to his show, according to Donald Trump. So, we'll have to see what happens here. But my guess is that Dan Bongino will be back, and I don't know if he will necessarily usurp Vince or if they'll keep Vince on and keep the Vince Colonnese show. So yeah, I can imagine that it's probably going to be something new, but I know that Mark Levin, for an example, Mark Levin is happy about having Dan back behind the mic, helping him in particular, rage and rally against these leftist lunatics that we've got running our country right now and going all crazy. And speaking of which, apparently, America Fest is going on, and Ben Shapiro was up, and I've been told by one of my Whiskey Warriors that Ben Shapiro was let's just say, defending against some people like Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, and Tucker Carlson. And I got to tell you, for those that don't listen to Mark Levin. Mark Levin's been going off on them for like 3 weeks now on his show. Seems to be a consistent thing. And honestly, I'm just going to be honest with you. I personally don't find any one of those three to be like real Americans at all. I think that they are, all three of them are sellouts in this case. Their true colors have been shown. Nick Fuentes is just a absolutely disgusting, horrible individual. To even imagine that he's got, all of these, wonderful followers, his what he calls the groypers or whatever, is and those groypers, I'm going to tell you, man, yeah. Anyway, Tucker Carlson pretty much seems to have sold out since he left Fox. And I don't know what the hell happened to Candace Owens. She left the Daily Wire. She and Ben apparently got into a dust-up over Israel and the Gaza war. And all of a sudden, I think she started drinking the water that the leftists all drink, because she just went off the deep end, in my opinion. And it's amazing to me because I'm going to be honest with you. I'm the same. I am the same regardless of whether I'm behind this mic or whether I'm in front of you. I mean, there might be some things that I don't necessarily say that I do behind this mic, but that I don't necessarily say, in private per se. But really, I just need to understand. I need you to understand I'm not that much different in personal life as I am what's behind the microphone. I tend to be a little quieter in my personal life. I don't talk quite as much. When I get behind the microphone, that's what I do, is I talk, because that's what we do here. But all of that being said, these people seem to have been, oh yeah, we're 100% MAGA. And then all of a sudden they went off the deep end, sort of like, in a way, MTG did. Now, you could sit here and you could say fame and fortune took over for those folks, and there's a good possibility that there might be some of that. Which is part of the reason why I keep telling everybody that if I ever become famous, which I am clearly not even close, but I have a few close friends that I've told them, I'm like, hey, if I ever become famous, and you obviously still know me, you need to ground me. You need to ground me. And, yeah, they've all told me, yeah, we don't see that. So, anyway, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I really don't. I mean, you would think that the Republican Party or the Republicans, the conservative movement, would try and gather together and get together, but we've always had this problem. Conservatives have always had this problem. Okay? We've always had this issue where we can't seem to come up with a one mind. Well, granted, I mean, I don't know if I necessarily would want to be the hive mind of the left. I don't know if I'd really want to be part of the hive mind of the left, but the hive mind of the left seems to sometimes get things done. So in a way, you could be a little envious of them, because it doesn't matter who it is. They can have all kinds of internal debates and everything else. And the minute that a outsider to their group says something, it may not even be like an actual attack. It could just be saying something, and all of them turn like a completely controlled pack of dogs, and every single one of them jumps on you. Every single one would jump on you. And so that, honestly, that's kind of an admirable thing in a way, because I mean, I don't know. Maybe the brainwashing is just that good over in the leftist Democrat Party. I know I'll never be a part of it, but anyway. So, we'll see what happens. All right. Well, let's get into the news. I've done enough ranting and raving for today. But first, before we get into the news, let me tell you about this wonderful thing called coffee. Oh, coffee. Let me explain something to you. While the power was out, oh my gosh, we had to use a old style percolator. Well, it's been a little while since I've gone and used a percolator. Let me explain to you what happened. No, yeah, we kind of had to like relearn a couple of lessons with the percolator. Anyway, if you still haven't tried 1775 coffee, now is your shot. The 1775 starter kit has just dropped. There's a few number of units available. In each unit, you're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard, the smooth medium roast, and the Vitality Mushroom Coffee for clean energy and laser focus with no crash. All of them are single origin, small batch, toxin-free, and mold-free. Plus, you'll also be receiving a gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. You'll be receiving a frother that is strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's opinions. But let's be honest, it doesn't take much to stir up her opinions. You'll also be receiving a black 1775 tumbler. It's $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for just $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble and wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler alert, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they are gone. That's 1775coffee.com/ that / is a question mark key on your keyboard /studio to grab your starter kit. Go to 1775coffee.com / studio and grab your starter kit. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does. Go to 1775coffee.com / studio and grab your starter kit before they are gone, and grab your starter kit today. All right. Sorry, that little chuckle there in a minute was Nana. Nana goes, it took me 6 months to quit calling Rick whiskey. Well, I don't care. I answer to both of them. To be honest with you, I'll answer to just about anything. I'll answer to just about anything except, please, whatever you do, don't call me late for dinner. Okay. So there's an appellate court victory that was handed over to Trump. So, again, folks, these National Guard deployments, they are literally legal, okay? You can complain about all you want. You can think that you know about the things like the Posse Comitatus Act and everything else. Yeah, they're all legal. Trust me. That's been over and over and over. It keeps happening. It's legal. In this particular case, the appeals court says, you know what? The National Guard can stay in D.C., the National Guard can stay in D.C. until we figure out whether or not this was actually legal or not. But they also said, and this is the kicker, they also said that, well, the Trump administration is likely to win the case. No kidding. He's likely to win the case. It's legal, folks. Now, they simply say because Washington, D.C. has a unique legal status. But I can tell you that no, he's going to win anyway because this is all legal. It's all in the law. It's all allowed. It's absolutely allowed. It's under the Insurrection Act. It says that federal troops can be deployed to enforce federal law when and if the local law enforcement either can't or won't enforce it. Which, again, I point out, to all of these sanctuary cities and all these sanctuary mayors and all these sanctuary governors, you guys don't seem to remember or haven't learned from history, but I seem to recall the National Guard being called out on multiple occasions when the local constabulary, and by that I mean, again, these mayors and governors, decided that they were not going to enforce federal law. Biggest example is the whole integration of schools situation. I mean, even Ronald Reagan, as president, called out the National Guard under the Insurrection Act. This is all legal, folks. It just is. There's not a single judge that has sit there and said, oh, this is questionable whether it's legal. No, these people are doing this for a political purpose. They are attempting to stop what is legal and proper because it benefits them politically. It benefits the Democrat Party and the Democrats to keep illegal aliens here. It benefits them because they get a crop of essentially captured voters. That's what they're for. Anyway, so yeah, he's federal appeals court. There you go. Well, speaking of immigration, this is kind of interesting. I'm sort of on the fence about this because, you know, I'm going to be honest with you. Citizenship in particular is based off of not just whether or not you were born within our borders, but also whether or not you have a affiliation, like a purposeful affiliation with the government. Now, that being said, Trump is looking to strip naturalized citizenship from anyone who used immigration fraud to get it. Now, this one, I think, honestly, this is not only going to be legal, but I also think it's actually a pretty good move. You know, realistically, I don't think you could say that somebody who was born here and has parents of, or at least one parent of American descent, that you could strip a U.S. citizen in that particular case, because that's considered what's called a natural born citizen. But I don't think you could strip that citizenship away from them. However, if you came here under false pretenses and you gained your citizenship under false pretenses, well, that's no different than if you married somebody under false pretenses here in order to gain access to America. Yeah, I think it's just one of those things that most smart people would be like, yeah, you know what, that actually kind of makes sense. Well, I saw a couple people on, the socials that were like, oh my God, he's going to take naturalized away. No, you need to understand, he's doing it from the fraudsters. He's finding people, or he wants to find people who defrauded their immigration here and got naturalized. That's what he's looking for. He's looking for lawbreakers, people. That's what he's doing. And his United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS, is reportedly setting out an ambitious plan to strip citizenship from naturalized Americans who are found to have fraudulently secured the legal status. See, this is the key. This is the key. It's the fraudulently secured the legal status. But of course, okay, the left is going to look at this and they're just going to see just that he wants to strip citizenship from naturalized Americans. They're not going to think any farther than that and go, oh, well, wait a minute. No, he's looking for fraudsters. So the denaturalization plan was detailed in the New York Times, will be spearheaded by the USCIS Director John Etlow, and focus on referring 100 to 200 denaturalization cases every month to his agency's Office of Immigration Litigation. The Times reports that if the cases are successful, it would represent a massive escalation in denaturalization in the modern era, experts said. By comparison, between 2017 and this year to date, there have been just over 120 cases filed, according to the Justice Department. See, this is the way it should be, man. Under federal law, people may be denaturalized only if they committed fraud while applying for citizenship, or in a few other narrow circumstances. This is in the Times. He goes, but of course they have to throw the leftist slant on it. It's like, but the Trump administration has shown zeal for using every tool at its disposal to target legal and illegal immigrants. leading activists to warn that such a campaign should sweep up, or could sweep up, people who made honest mistakes on their citizenship paperwork and sow fear among law-abiding Americans. Yeah, sure. So Matthew Progressor, who is a USCIS spokesman, said, "It's no secret that U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services' war on fraud includes prioritizing those who've unlawfully obtained U.S. citizenship, especially under the previous administration." Again, keep in mind, Trump came in, he campaigned on being the law and order president. He campaigned on taking care of illegal immigration. And by that, I mean illegal aliens, people who jump the border, people who are here who have overstayed their visas, people who are here because they fraudulently got here. This is nothing new. Why these idiots are out here, these leftist lunatics are out here sitting here saying, "Oh my God, this guy, he's taking care, he's getting rid." No, he's cleaning up. He's cleaning up the lawbreakers, folks. That's what he's doing. He's cleaning up the lawbreakers. This is just ridiculous for these people to sit here and talk about this. So one of the things, in fewer than 4 years, the Biden administration awarded citizenship to almost 3.5 million foreign nationals, which the Migration Policy Institute notes is by far the most naturalizations of any single presidential term. Donald Trump is just trying to clean up and make sure that these people are here legally, that they followed the law, they followed the rules, and they got here. They were given their citizenship the proper way. That's all he is doing here. So there you go. Now, of course, keep in mind that all of this is aligned toward making sure that Americans are safe, that the American people are safe from foreign terrorists within our border, from people who want to hurt us and kill us, which is exactly what the federal government is supposed to do. It's chartered for and everything else in the Constitution. That's all this is. That's all this is. So all of your pearl clutching and gnashing of teeth on you leftist side, yeah, that ain't happening. That ain't happening. Anyway, so I do want to say, I do want to talk about one Democrat. Actually, let's see. What have I got here? Yeah, okay. I want to talk a little bit about a couple Democrats. In particular, it seems like even though we're going through this, what seems to be sort of like a civil war within the conservative movement, the Democrats aren't much better. And let me explain why. So, Representative Jasmine Crockett, yes, that's right, folks, the complete, utter stupid moron from Texas, who code switches whenever she's in front of people that she thinks needs to be, because she can't sit there and actually talk to people. She got to explain herself. She got to pull out that accent, which that was a horrible accent on my part, but she's got to pull out the accent and she's got to talk about, "Let me ask you a question," and act like she's from the ghetto. That Jasmine Crockett. Well, apparently her announcement for bid being the senator in Texas looks like not too many people in terms of the Democrats. They're kind of torn between the two of them. So her entrance in the race has drawn concern from people like James Carville, who criticized her approach to politics. And there are some operatives who are fearing that she could actually be a gift to the GOP in the general election. Now, keep in mind, other Democrats have also rushed to her defense, arguing that she has name recognition, grassroots energy, she's going to be competitive next fall. So Matt Engel, who is the director of the Lone Star Project, which is a Democratic political action committee in the state, known as a PAC, he stated Jasmine's challenge is to prove people wrong that she somehow benefits the Republicans by being in the race. Well, I'm going to tell you, she does benefit Republicans by being in the race, especially when they can give her a bunch of crap on her code switching. In my mind, what they should be doing is they should be playing videos of her side by side. One where she actually sounds like she came from the high-end elite schools that she actually did come from. And then juxtapose that with videos of her sounding like she's coming from the ghetto. I mean, that would be a fantastic ad. Anyway, so a new survey, according to this piece in The Hill, a new survey from Texas Southern University found her with an 8-point edge over the other Democrat candidate, Tallarico, among primary voters. So she very well may be the Democrat primary winner when it comes to the end of all of this. But once she hits the general election, that might be where the line gets drawn. And I actually kind of hope so for, Ms. T and G that are out there. Man, I hope. Well, you're not in her district, I don't think. But, man, I hope Texas does not vote this idiot into office. James Carville actually told his Politics War Room podcast co-host Al Hunt last week, quote, "She seems like she's got a lot of energy, but to me, she violates the first rule of politics. And that is, in politics, you always make it about the voters and never about yourself. If you listen to her talk, it's a lot more about herself than in the voters." Now, across the aisle, Cornyn, who is the incumbent, is in a three-way fight with Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton and Representative Wesley Hunt of Texas. Now, the latest polling average from Decision Desk HQ puts Paxton at the top, 5 points ahead. So, yeah. Anyway, we'll just have to see what happens there, but we'll go. So we'll see what happens there. In tonight's Moron Files. That's right. Oh my gosh, I really got to work on a stinger for this. I know 3 Chevy gave me a video for it, and I think it's great, but I gotta massage it a little bit, maybe put a background to it or whatever. Anyway, this wonderful thing that these idiots, I don't know where do these Democrat lawmakers seem to think this? These idiots do realize that slavery ended like 250 years ago, right? That slavery is gone. It's over in America. It's been gone for quite some time. And not only that, but the generation after generation after generation, there's not one person in America today that has actually owned slaves. There is not one person in America today who has actually been a slave. So there's absolutely no reason to put any kind of reparations, slavery reparations, together. None. Well, Maryland decided, yeah, we're Democrats. We're going to go ahead and put together this Slavery Reparations Commission, even though the governor vetoed it. Governor Wes Moore vetoed the law, and the state lawmakers in Maryland said, you know what? Yeah, we're going to go ahead and adopt what's called Senate Bill 587, which is a legislation that establishes a government commission to study reparations for residents whose ancestors had been enslaved. What the kind of crap is that? Again, it's been long over. We're talking like 2 or 3 generations over. There is no reparations to be made. You want to know what the reparations were? The reparations were the thousands of lives lost for the North to free the South. There's your reparations, baby, in blood. The Republicans took on the institution of slavery in the South. And regardless of what anybody sits there and says, yes, slavery was a top issue with it. And I am just done with this idea that, these guys, we're going to put together, where are you going to get the money? So essentially what you're going to do is this reparations, because again, remember, government doesn't have anything. Government does not create anything. Government has no profitable, no production value. There is nothing there. Government cannot give somebody something that it doesn't take from somebody else. That's the way government works. And you idiots are sitting here saying, oh yeah, we should steal from somebody that's never, ever, ever held slaves. And give it to somebody who has never, ever, ever been a slave. Because of some made-up thing. Because, oh my gosh, they were wronged. Their great grandfather. And yes, I'm being entirely hyperbolic here. But because their, 15-time grandfather was a slave, well, oh my God, that kid, yeah, he felt it. Really? Seriously, what kind of sense do you make? Well, that's the point. You don't make sense. Because you're freaking morons. You're complete, utter stupid morons. And that's why you end up in the moron files. Yes. So late Tuesday night, the Maryland State Senate voted 31-14 to override the veto. The State House of Delegates voted 95-35 to override the veto. Oh my God, how stupid can you people be? And it's not going to be their money. That's the whole point. Oh, it's not my money. It's taxpayer money. We're not going to do, yeah. What a bunch of crap. Man, if you live in Maryland, I'm telling you, you got some stupid people in charge. Well, I live in Washington, so there you go. I got stupid people in charge, too. All right. Before we take off, last story of the evening. Well, folks, inflation is going down. No, I'm not saying that inflation itself is like we're actually losing money here. No. Well, I mean, we are gaining money, I should say. Gaining money here. No, we actually are still losing money. We're just not losing it at quite the same fast rate that we were under Biden. See, so many people don't understand inflation. The only way for prices to actually, quote unquote, decrease under inflation is if we have what's known as deflation. Deflation means that the inflation rate is actually a negative, not a positive. Okay? Well, that being said, during Biden's term, our rate of inflation was 9-point-something% at one point. It keeps going up, and it's going to. See, 2% is already baked into the cake. That is what the federal banks have said. Hey, that's just going to be the natural rate of inflation. Well, inflation dropped in November below 3%. It went to 2.7% in November. And thus, the markets reacted strongly, meaning that they were going up on a positive side. They were growing. You want to talk about affordability? The whole affordability concept that the leftists want to push? Yeah. Affordability went out the window under Bidenflation and Bidenomics. There you go. Inflation itself, had it not been for Biden inflation or Bidenomics, we would have been just fine. We would have been at around a 2%, maybe a 3%, under Trump if Trump had a second term. But no, Biden decided to infuse the market with all kinds of printed money, and that's exactly where inflation comes from. You know, you people need to listen to like Milton Friedman, or you need to listen to Thomas Sowell, or better yet, both of them, to learn and understand what economics is, you leftists. You leftist idiots. Yes. So, inflation, yes, inflation is coming down from what it used to be, but you also need to understand that the reason why prices are still up because we're still feeling the effects of the previous administration. And unless we have deflation of an equivalent amount, meaning that we have a deflation of 9%, meaning an inflation rate of negative 9%, we're never going to get rid of what Biden did to us. We can't go back unless we have deflation. And that can cause all kinds of other economic problems. Even though that would be kind of nice to see. But anyway, it's just not going to happen, folks. You can sit here and try and blame Donald Trump all you want. It's Joe Biden that caused this. Joe Biden that caused all of this. All right, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com. Get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Also, too, don't forget on your way out, hit those thumbs up, thumbs downs, or in the case of 3 Chevy, thumbs sideways across all my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. Remember, tomorrow night, no show, more than likely. Tomorrow night, no show. So we will see you Saturday, 1 hour later, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your weekend, or have a great rest of your night, and have a great tomorrow. We'll see you Saturday, right here on American Perspective. Good night, everybody.